If you've ever broken a toe or finger and thought to yourself, yeah, that. I've got a life to live, I got places to be, I got things to do, this can't stop me. Then strap yourself in because this is the godfather of that thought process. Breaking his spine in multiple places due to a terrible car accident and not 13 months later, bullying some of the best professional boxers of his time.
Ever the showman.
Today we're talking about Vinny Pazienza, or better known as Vinny Paz, a former professional boxer who held titles in the lightweight, light middle, and super middle weight classes. Little bit of background for you. Born on December 16th, 1962, Vinny grew up in Cranston, Rhode Island, which even by today's standards wasn't exactly the safest place to be. With a grand total population of just over 900,000, your chances of being the victim of a violent crime were 1 in 900, which doesn't quite seem like a lot unless you were that one. And if you so happened to own a piece of property during that time, you had a 1 in 36 chance of it being vandalized and robbed. What I'm saying here is that Cranston at the time didn't exactly have the best reputation, so learning how to fight was probably a pretty good idea. And luckily for Vinny, his father was an excellent amateur boxer who started at the age of 5 years old teaching him the art of legally piecing people up. Although it would take him about 10 years and watching the first Rocky movie for him to finally decide to make it his career.
I think we ought to knock his block off.
Absolutely.
From that point on, Vinny trained vigorously, working, competing, struggling to make it his day-to-day life, and eventually breaking through and becoming a pro in 1983, where his fighting style was characterized only as aggressive, which is, I assure you, a gross understatement. Vinny was nicknamed the Pazmanian Devil because while many boxers can be considered aggressive, hell, any boxer can be considered aggressive if you just walk forward more than you walk back, Vinny was something entirely different. He didn't understand any concept that wasn't just getting in front of that dude and hurting him until he cries or goes to sleep in front of his family and friends. If you stood in front of Vinny, he would rip you apart. If you danced around Vinny, he would run you into the canvas. And if you magically somehow managed to last long enough to where Vinny is fatigued, he just simply laid his weight on top of you and beat you until the ref stopped it. He would layer his opponent's bodies with intense cow leather bombs fired straight from his hips and shoulders. I mean it, Vinny was a menace with notable wins over fighters like Harry Arroyo, Joe Frazier Jr., Nelson Bolanos, and the list just goes on, amassing a record of 31-5 until one day he had that nearly fatal car accident. On November 12, 1991, Pazienza was a passenger in a car that was involved in a head-on collision in Warwick, Rhode Island, with the car itself going an approximate 40 miles per hour or 64 kilometers per hour at the time of the crash. Now, assuming that both cars were going at a similar speed, that's like going at 80 miles an hour and then ramming yourself straight into a wall like one of those crash test dummies from the car commercials. For additional reference, a medieval trebuchet fired a human-sized projectile at about 151 miles per hour. So assuming it takes a second or two to really get up to that velocity, it's kind of like if you were fired out of a trebuchet into a tree 10 feet away. For real, this crash was bad, and Vinny suffered a dislocated vertebrae and 2 fractured vertebrae in his neck, which not only caused him to have to pull out of his next fight, but relinquish his title altogether. But as if things couldn't possibly get worse, he was also informed by the doctors that he would be lucky if he ever walked again, let alone step inside of the ring and continue his career. But much like telling a teenager not to do something, Vinny immediately went, yeah? Watch me. And against doctor's orders, Vinny almost instantly went back to training, where he can be seen wearing a device called a halo, which, hang on a second, I won't be able to read this off my memory, which is a circular metal brace screwed into the skull in 4 spots and propped up with 4 metal rods in order for him to function. And I thought it was bad when I had to wear a half cast because I broke my elbow. Vinny could be seen lifting weights, shadowboxing, hitting the heavy bag, and even doing neck strengthening exercises without his brace. This man was the literal embodiment of, if it didn't unalive me, it will make me stronger. And after about 13 months of recovery, if you can even call it that, Vinny was ready to step back into the boxing world and take it by storm. And actually, he came back more like a Category 5 hurricane, as he immediately defeated future WBC World Junior Middleweight Champion Luis Santana via 10-round decision. But that wasn't enough for Vinny because he then went on to take the vacant IBO Middleweight Championship belt after schooling 3 other top-ranked fighters. So let's sum this up here real quick. We have a pro boxer who just smashes the lightweight division. Gets bored of that, so he goes up a weight class to bully those competitors. Gets into a severe car accident where he's told that he's never going to be able to box again, then giving Doc the middle finger, getting back into the ring, sees the middleweight division, and then proceeds to play his own twisted version of Cops and Robbers called America and any foreign country with oil. Because he went into that division, took what he wanted, and left nothing but disaster in his wake. But get this, Vinny isn't done there, because he then goes on to the IBC super middleweight division, where he takes the belt by smoking the same dude twice. And it wouldn't be until 1996 where Paz finally suffers a loss at the hands of then IBF super middleweight champion, Roy Jones Jr. Which I guess Vinny took personally because his very next fight was for the WBU Super Middleweight Championship and lit that dude up, knocking him out within 4 rounds. Sadly, in 2002, Vinny Pazienza, or legally known as Vinny Paz as of the year 2000, lost his WBC Super Middleweight belt to Eric Lucas, and he would never see another world title again. He did, however, manage to finish strong by securing his last win via decision, bringing his total record up to 50-10 with 30 of those wins coming by knockout. Vinny, now 42 years old, had dedicated 37 years of his life to boxing, won 5 world titles, survived a devastating car crash, and smoked some of the best names to ever compete in the sport. He was inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame in the year 2022 and was even the inspiration for a movie called Bleed for This, which is based on his recovery from his spinal injuries. All around, Vinny was a real force to be reckoned with in the boxing world and shows us what a real, true, strong mindset can do for our lives. He showed us all that the only thing stopping us from achieving the goals that we want in life is the way we see the world around us. Now, I do feel that I have to put in there that I don't feel that Vinny the person was an awesome role model. I mean that he had his own troubles with law enforcement and even had a pretty severe domestic abuse incident. But as far as the boxer side goes, as far as standing out and being the best you can possibly be in your field, this man stands second to none as a true icon. But that's all I have for you today. If you stuck around this long, please consider subscribing to the channel, as every sub helps me support our non-profit Free MMA, where we teach everyone martial arts for no cost. And as always, remember to eat well, sleep well, train hard, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.